You seek a prophecy from the Oracle of Delphi, and a prophecy I shall give. Now your statues are standing and pouring sweat. They shiver with dread. The black blood drips from the highest of rooftops. They have seen the unnecessary evil. Get out. Get out of my sanctum and drown your spirit's woe. Now the Spartans ask of prophecy as well, from the Oracle of Delphi. Hear your fate, O dwellers in Sparta of the wide spaces. Either your famed great town must be sacked by Perseus' sons, or, if that not be, the whole land shall mourn the death of a king of the house of Hercules. For not the strength of lions or bulls shall hold him. Be warned that strength against strength, for he has the power of Zeus, and will not be checked until one of the two he has consumed. Now I have spoken, as I am the Oracle of Delphi. Do I look like an Oracle of Delphi? Hi everyone. I'm just gonna give it a couple minutes and let you guys pop back on. Sorry, I wanted to kind of give you like a little bit of what the Dark Ages were about when it came to oracles. So I thought that was kind of cool. But you know, I'm all about my props and all that, and I want to see how you guys are doing. So, hey everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I always have fun reading oracle stuff, and I do love how the Oracle of Delphi speaks. So, let me just grab my notes, and we shall begin within 30 seconds. Does that sound good? Right. So that one is for the next lesson, the gods. All right. I hope everyone's doing great on this new moon, and if I'm not mistaken, another Mercury retrograde of 6 planets. So fun. I hope everyone's doing good. I hope everyone's getting the right type of energy from the planets aligning. I hope it's not the bad type of energy depleting. That's the worst. I'm about a 50-50. I got my good moments and then I got my bad moments. So one moment I'm like, yay. Next moment I'm like, say something else. So everyone's kind of on the better side of things. All right, so shall we begin? Okay, so tonight we're gonna go through what oracles are. Now, I thought I'd give a little spin on this because oracles are very ancient compared to tarot, in my opinion. Oracle has a whole different type of meaning back in the Dark Ages than what it is nowadays, where tarot is, well, always been tarot. Actually, the name became tarot, more of a modernish type of twist on things. Before, it was just the reading of the cards. Oracles, they've always been oracles as far back as the Greeks and the Babylonians and the Egyptians, and the Celtics. Actually, there's not really much of a culture that doesn't have their own form of what an oracle is, but the oracle name technically came from the Greeks. It was their term for what an oracle was. And then as we go a little bit here tonight, we're going to sit there and I'm going to give you the other names of what oracles are, but in different cultures, because different cultures, it's the same thing, but with a different word, depicted just a little bit different, which I love. And you'll see why. You'll understand after tonight why I love oracles, not just the card form, but just what an oracle is. I always joke with Megan all the time, and I always say, hey, I think I'm an oracle, or I was an oracle, or am meant to be an oracle. But I'll explain as we go. Okay, so oracle. It is an ancient type of world, guys, okay? Like I said, it comes from Babylonian times. It comes from the Greeks. It comes from the Celtics, the Egyptians, Hindu, Norse, name it. It comes from it, okay? It is just a way that the gods are interpreting information, but giving it to someone to relay the information to who needs to hear it, or must hear it, or asks to hear it. And I'll explain that when I talk about the Oracle of Delphi, which is one of the most popular is one of the most popular places that the oracle spoke through, or I should say the gods spoke through. Okay, so one of the biggest terms we're going to go through is oracle versus seer, okay? It's the same thing, but it's not at the same time. So oracle, okay? It is said that the gods spoke through oracles. Perhaps they lost track of time, or they went into a trance. Oracles are people that ask questions to the gods, and the gods then in turn give the answers. You're going to see that very similar, because what else do we use that we do the same thing, but we don't always talk to just the gods, but we talk to spirits, we talk to the other realms, we talk to whoever will actually give us an answer. It's our cards, right? Our beautiful oracle cards. It's the same type of messages we're asking. We're just using something else to get those messages, and instead of letting it speak through us personally. But back then, they let the gods speak through them. So if I was an oracle, I would ask my questions, and the gods would give me an answer in some form, in which we're going to talk about that on the different types of forms that they can give us, that has been, shown in ancient times to even now modern times. Now, one of the biggest thing with oracles, okay, compared to seers, is oracles are usually giving their prophecies in temples or shrines of some form. So if you or watch movies or read documentaries, you're always going to hear of a temple or a shrine that was given. Not so much like, hey, I was in my village and this peasant came to me and asked me for some messages from the gods. That's another big thing, is oracles pretty much spoke to very rich and wealthy men, kings, queens, mostly kings, because that's what it was back in those times. So the kings, generals, military people, anyone that led an army back then, magistrates, okay? Everything that was asked of an oracle was mostly political-based, religious-based, or military-based. That's the type of questions they asked then. Unlike a seer is completely opposite. A seer is for the common people. A seer is a traveler or a homebody in a small little village that no one really knows about, but hears of someone that can give them messages through bones, leaves. In our case, why can't we call our oracle cards seer cards? Hey, Tamar. Hey, guys. Why can't we call our cards, instead of oracle cards, seer cards? Because that's what seers did too. They use things like how we do tea leaf reading. It's a form of being a seer. You read the leaves. You read, the grinds, right? If I go outside and I go to a creek and I take the rocks from the creek, small little pebble rocks, and I lay them down and I try to make sense of what it is. Maybe that's a form of my seeing. See the difference? So, oracles like to sit on these big, big, big podiums, and they have their little veils sometimes, or they have these masks that were parted so no one's seen. Maybe it was like that. But seers weren't like that at all. I'm gonna sit in my little village with my little fire, and someone comes up to me and asks me a question. I really need help with something. What do you need help with, child? Whatever the question may be. And then they ask. They look at the trees, they look at the seasons, they look at the way the wind blows, the way the wind feels. Seers, not oracles. Now, one of the biggest things with oracles, too, is they love prophecies. Prophecies were their things. They loved it. Why? Because their prophecies were never small. It wasn't a prophecy of perhaps, maybe, the gods might think if you go down that path, you'll find the love of your life. Now, prophecies were all about battle and blood and carnage and don't do it, or something bad's gonna happen, or I'm giving you a warning not to accept something, but you accepted it, and now your fate is decided. That's what an oracle did. It's all about the prophecies, the details, the twisting of the words. It's kind of like our magic and our spells and how we are, right? How we talk. Some people like the fancy words, even though the words to them are very detailed and have very specific meanings. But some people like the fancy forms, the fancy way of saying things. Okay? So, like I read to you earlier, and if you guys are just popping on, I really suggest afterwards you kind of pop to the beginning and hear the beginning part, because I had fun doing it. But I'll read them again just because it's fun. My favorite one is the Spartans, okay? Hear your fate, O dwellers of Sparta, of the wide spaces. Either your famed great town must be sacked by Perseus' sons, or, if that be not, the whole land shall mourn the death of a king of the house of Hercules. For not the strength of lions or a bull shall hold him, strength against strength. For he has the power of Zeus, and will not be checked until one of these two he has consumed. I love that. Tell me who doesn't love that, okay? It's the warning, okay? Two choices in that prophecy. Pick one. But she's pretty much saying, I'm going to tell you which one to pick. The other one is for the Athenians, okay? Their prophecy. Now your statues are standing and pouring sweat. The shiver with dread, the black blood drips from the highest of rooftops. They have seen the necessity of evil. Get out. Get out of my sanctum and drown your spirit's woe. Who doesn't love a twist of words? Okay. So the history of how oracles started. Initially, they always said that before the Greek gods themselves really were depicted in, Zeus loved the upper world, Poseidon ruled the sea, and Hades ruled Tartarus, the underworld. before that became a structure, and Apollo and Athena and Aphrodite and Artemis, right? And Hephaestus and Ares, before all those came to be very detailed on what they ruled and how they ruled it, it was Gaia. Gaia spoke through the oracles. It was said. She was the original. She was the first. Even to this day, some of the translations from the Greeks said that it was Gaia, okay? But then it twists. Now they're saying it's Apollo. They said Apollo because Apollo's form is that he guides divination. And oracles are a form of divination. So now they say that he took over the temples and the shrines and spoke through the oracles. At least he was the main one, but he's not the only one. Because if you really look back into Greek mythology in a detail, all of the gods had their own oracles. But there were very specific ones that were the most popular and the most sought out, okay? The Oracle of Delphi was the first big temple that people visited, okay? They call them the Oracle of blank, the Oracle of this, okay? The Oracle of Delphi isn't the name of the actual oracle, okay? It's just the temple or the shrine that was located in whatever location it was. The Delphi was considered the center of the world for the Greeks. All the other temples were around it, not actually like centered with it. Delphi's priestess that ran it, and I'm totally gonna mess up this name because I'm really bad with Greek pronunciations, except for the ones I've heard 1,000 times, like obviously the gods. Pythia. There we go. Pythia was the priestess. She was the female priestess. She was the one who gave prophecies that sometimes made so much sense and gave so much warning. Then she was also the type of priestess that gave prophecies that made no sense. It was such a puzzle to so many, and to be able to figure out what she was talking about, by that time, sometimes it was too late. If you know what I mean. Battles were lost because of things like this. Some of the people that visited her very specifically that are more popular in culture, period, one of the biggest one is Alexander the Great, okay? Another one is the Spartans, obviously, because I read you the prophecy for the Spartans, at least one of the prophecies for the Spartans. People came far and wide to visit the Oracle Delphi. Croesus of Lydia, when his battle was against the Persians, which he lost because, well, she straight up told them, you're not going to win this war, and there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, and there's nothing that you can try to do that's going to save you and your people. And the Persians crushed them. So I always thought that was pretty interesting. So those are just a couple of the very popular ones. Now, remember, she's seen so many, and there's always been more than one Oracle of Delphi, because over time, they change. The oracles change. Male, female, it doesn't really matter. But the very first one that spoke through Delphi was Pythias. Okay? My little note here says that 4 sacred wars were declared by this oracle against cities that offended it or refused to pay the fine that it had imposed on them. And I put this little tab on there so I can tell you guys is because oracles back then were also for profit, which really just makes me so sad to hear, because, you know, I've never been a prophet kind of a witch ever. I've never been a prophet kind of anything. Sometimes it does help, you know, if you can, you know, have a prophet, but for the most time, I pretty much give myself away. Why? Because I wasn't meant to charge people stuff that was given to me to help others. But back then, the priests made the priestesses charge a fee. They would bring gold. They would bring offerings of money and gems and food and animals. Name it. Whatever they bartered and gave back then is what they gave. But I can guarantee that most kings didn't come with a lamb or a cow. I guarantee they came with a big chest of riches and jewels, crowns and tiaras, fine jewelry, fine dresses, probably. It was a money thing, okay? And if you did not pay that fine, she would start a war. She was so well known and so well respected, and her prophecies always came true. For the most part, I'd say about 85% came true. But don't say she didn't start a war for her own benefit either. So tricky, that little girl was. Another one that was very, very popular, he's the Oracle of Dona, and this is the second most prestigious, but possibly the most ancient location. As in, Delphi might have been more known right away and popular, but Dona is older, used back then a little bit more. The priest that ran this, and here we go again, here's another name, Seloi? Man, I really need to brush up on my Greek. Oh, hold on. Are there any awesome books on oracles? Me and my bookworm. I love this dive. Sasha, actually, if you look up seers and oracles on Amazon, or even if you do a Google search on it, there's actually a lot. But what they're going to give you is they're going to give you a lot of information on the mythology and the history. So if you look up Delphi and then you look up maybe like the different names for oracles for different cultures, which I'm going to give you when this live goes. If you look up like seer and druids and shamans, those are other names for oracles. So if you look them up and then you look up their mythology, they're going to give you like popular ones, more renowned ones. I dug very deep with my history on this, but there are books out there, and I actually ordered one book, and it's about the Greeks' oracles, as in obviously Oracle Delphi is one of the biggest ones. I find her very fascinating, very cruel at the same time, and I do love stuff like that. Have you heard about the Sublime Oracles? I haven't. Do you know much about that? Because that might be something I'm going to look into tomorrow after. Is it based off a different culture? Let me know, okay? Because I'll definitely check into that. Because I love anything that I can tap into. That wasn't anything I seen in my research, so please give. I love it. Now here's the one with this one. So, Dodona, the Temple of Dodona, I probably guess I should have said this first. So, the Oracle Delphi went into a trance when she did her reads. We call them reads. See? Modernized. When she did her prophecies, she went into a trance. Dodona, he, on the other hand, was a little bit different. He read his based off of the interpretation of holy oak leaves, and he literally like had them on the ground. Does that sound like a couple other things we know about, guys? So yeah, so it wasn't just a blackout stage or letting time pass, but he did a different style of divination. And I always love that. So there's another style right there, okay? So, oracles nowadays is different. Modernized now, right? How many people on here have honestly sat there and can say that they've heard someone say, I feel like you're an oracle? How many people can sit there and say, I think I'm an oracle? It's not just the cards. And I'm not even going to go too deep. Actually, I'm not even going to go deep at all with the whole oracle cards thing, because you're using something to get information from another realm, a higher spirit, higher being, right? But I bet you a good bit of people that can read cards might actually be an oracle in themselves. They just utilize the cards to get their information. One sec, guys. Okay. So how do you know that you're an oracle? Oh, there's my work popping up again. How do you know that you're an oracle? There's a few different things you can look at, guys. The very first thing is having a very strong sense of intuition. And I don't just mean like, ooh, I probably shouldn't do that. I mean having a very strong sense of intuition, as in you've channeled it. You've channeled your intuition to a point where one of these very specific things I'm going to give you is so strong, but so sporadically. It's not something that you walk around every day having, or can just walk around and be like, oh, you need to know this. Or, oh, hey, I need to tell you this. Because that's being a psychic then. That's not what oracles are. Oracles aren't psychics. And that is the biggest misconception ever. We are not psychics. Look at me saying we're. Oracles are not psychics. Because we don't walk around saying, let's see who's on. Sasha, I need to give you some information right now. I need you to know that if you walk out that door right now, you're going to get some information that's going to hurt. But don't worry. You're meant to get that information because the Spirit said so. Or, Tamar, you need to go to the ocean. You have something waiting there for you. If you don't go to the ocean tomorrow and put your feet in the water, well, you're just not going to like it. We're not psychics. We can't sit there and say that something's going to happen like that. And we can't just turn it on. Oracles have to have message come to them. It's a message thing. But you have to ask them, okay? So, the first thing you have to know is you must be aware of the messages that you choose to attach to things. Signs, messages, okay? I have been on so many group pages, and I seen 5 ravens. No, we're not gonna say just 5. Let me give like a more random. I seen like a group of ravens flying across my truck as I was driving. Is that a sign? Probably not. Definitely not. Well, how do you know? Because they were probably trying to get to the other side of the road, and your vehicle's in the way. Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah, birds fly in front of people all the time. Yeah, I've hit a bird a couple times. Yeah, yep, I'm pretty sure. You see what I mean? Things like that. But when you're specifically looking for signs, They're not signs. At least not in my opinion, guys. When a sign happens, it comes out of nowhere, completely unexpected. But your brain, your mind triggers into you going, okay, what the hell just happened? Stop it. What do you want? It's like that. When you make a reaction and a connection with just instantly thinking that, holy shit, I was literally walking down the street and we'll just use another bird example. A bird flew into my chest and dropped and died. Is that a common thing to happen? That a bird is actually going to fly into someone's chest and just drop? Highly doubtful. Just like when I was at work with my truck parked for 10, 15 minutes plus, I had my windows, my one window on my side, all the way down, but my other one was only halfway down, and I'm waiting to go inside work, talking to my buddy who's in his truck. We're BSing, and then, bam! This adorable brown bird, standard bird, nothing special about it, flies into my truck, smacks itself against my windshield, flaps itself around, scares the crap out of me. I mean, the crap out of me. Flies straight at me to the point where I dive myself out of my truck and make myself look like a complete and total idiot. Okay? Started laughing my ass off, looked straight up to the sky, and said, all right, I get it, Morgan. Thank you. I got it. I already know. This is the 4th message in 3 weeks. I get it. I get the spontaneity. I get it. But it's because it was the most random things that would happen that link to something that's been meaning to tell me, because it was something that was brought into my brain quickly. It had a meaning. Not that I was seeking out the meaning, but that I already had the meaning inside my head, because I already knew. I was trying to be stupid to it, I guess you can say. Okay? It's the best things. Now, those are the signs and messages. Not that I'm sitting there and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna drive today, and I'm gonna look for, as I'm driving, look, there's exactly 4 birds. Oh, they're not just birds, the ravens, guys. What do 4 ravens mean? I need to go home and... That's not receiving signs and messages, because, hey, birds are everywhere and they do huddle together. It's really hard sometimes to explain, but it's true. Signs and messages comes when you don't expect them to come, but your brain triggers to a reaction to it that you know that it's a sign. There's no doubt. It's straight intuition. Straight intuition. Okay? Let me just go back and read these messages. Camille, haha, thank you. I never say anything, but I think it every time. Yep. Oh, I love Pompeii. I love anything that deals with Pompeii. That was such a sad history of Pompeii. My gosh, that everything just burned by the volcano was horrible. But the names of these oracle prophecies was taken from actual history as far as I know. Ooh, I'm definitely gonna look into that. Yes. I had a dragonfly land on my chest and shove a mosquito into its mouth and fly away after drowning. Oh, well, crap. Okay, I like that. All right. So yeah, it's the random messages, okay? So that's one way. Now, I'm not saying, hey, if you get a message that you're an oracle. Sometimes, a majority of the time, those messages aren't for you, though, guys. It's for someone else. And you're going to know that based on the intuition. I've done it accidentally to a couple people and not on purpose. I actually did a couple reads last night on Kathy's page. And I was doing one person's read and I literally felt like I was being choked while I was trying to speak the words into my voice text so that way I can text or type out like what I needed it to say. And it was so constricting that I was like, I had a frog in my throat and that something was like hindering me from speaking. Okay. So I told her like, hey, you know, this is what happened. This is what I felt when I pulled your cards. And she said that she had an idea of what it already meant. So look, there was a message to her. I've done it. I've gotten a hold of certain people and just randomly like, hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? And the next you know, they're telling me everything that's been going on because something happened, something was wrong. Sometimes you just know, okay? Which is going to lead to the next couple, all right? So another one is you find yourself writing or speaking about topics you don't logically or consciously understand, all right? Most of the time, it's very spontaneous. So I wouldn't even know exactly how to say that aside from already saying it. So if you just are speaking some things that has so much wisdom in it to someone and it makes perfect sense to them, like to you, it's like, I don't know anything about what I'm speaking about. But for some reason, I'm speaking it like I know what I'm talking about. And as I'm speaking it, say, you know, my mom's looking at me going, how'd you know? How'd you know exactly what to say to me at the right time? I don't know. What did I say? And then I'll be like, wait, how did I say that again? Because then I go back into the fact that I don't know what I just said. Another one would be you have flashes of guidance and insight that comes just out of nowhere, which kind of hones into the whole logic and consciously, not consciously like really understanding what you're saying, but sometimes you have a reason or a purpose to do something. Like you're meant to say something, you're meant to create something to help someone. So just to kind of give like a very general idea, which would kind of like give an example, is when Kathy and I created the page. I had this notion after a huge falling out with a previous friend that was a witch that I needed to create something that was safe and that was a community to people. Kathy and I got together after she got screwed and I got screwed, and together we both had a vision. This vision was meant to be something that isn't like the other groups. It was meant to be family. It was meant to be a connection where people can, you know, live and breathe their craft, their spiritual side, however they want to resonate with it. It could be a form of guidance. We're guiding you guys, like doing these lives, us talking and getting you guys to be part of it. It's the same thing. It's us trying to get you guys into it. Another one is you're able to what they consider a drop-in state that allows you to access information. I know that one sounds almost identical too, but a drop-in state is basically, what would be the best way to explain this? This one would be like, you know exactly what to buy someone. You know exactly what someone needs to receive. Not so much right then and there, but take our boxes. When we do the Sabbath boxes, sometimes, say someone lost someone very precious to them, loved one, very recent, and say it's Samhain, okay? And I got this person as a box, but I didn't really know that this person lost someone so very special to him. And then I go and buy a certain gift. And I say that certain gift is, I don't know. I'm trying to think something that would be very so spontaneous. A certain ring. We'll say a certain ring, okay? And this ring has a stone in it. And when that person, and then say I send like a pendulum, right? And I write a nice little letter. And in this letter, I'm saying some stuff like, I feel that, you need to have a connection to the spirit realm. Maybe I say something like, I feel that you have someone that needs to talk to you. Someone that needs and wants you to know that they're safe, that they're happy where they are, that they're not in any pain. And I send this all to you in a box, or this specific person to a box. This person gets the box, opens it, and starts busting out crying. Reads the note, cries even more. Why? Because they lost someone special. That pendulum is a connection to see if that person or if whoever they're trying to talk to is there still. And that stone in that ring was a stone of maybe say their birth date. Maybe their birthday was in August. So, they have a peridot stone, right? Whatever the birth date is, ruby, garnet, whatever, diamond for June. And it triggered something. It was immediate, like, I was meant to buy you that ring with that specific stone to help you be there. Have a connection to whoever you lost. Okay? That's what a drop-in is. It's not so much, I need to tell you right here, right now. No, this is something that, like, it's going to give meaning to soon, just not right now. Tamar says, those instances where you feel like you should call someone, so you do. As they pick up, they say, I just thinking about you calling. Would that be called it? Yeah, that definitely could be called it too. I would actually say that would be more of, no, actually, yeah, I'm gonna go with, yeah, that's definitely one of the drop-in ones. So yeah, that's great. And I know people have done that to me. I'll be like, oh man, I should call my mom. I gotta tell her something. And next thing you know, bring. And I'm like, all right, mother. Hello. Hey, honey, what you doing? Mother, I was literally just thinking about calling you. I gotta tell you so. And yeah, so that's actually probably a better example than me. So that's another form of drop-in. So that's awesome. Way to go. I love it. Another one is just you just happen to know what to say, the right time, the right moment, which I believe I already said that one, so I think I have that in there twice accidentally. But you just know what to say at the right time to make someone or to give someone whatever information you need to give them. Here's one of the strongest ones, okay? You feel here either out of nowhere or you feel a different type of energy around you. So I know a lot of people sit there and say, well, that's being an empath. That's clear audience, clear cognizance. Any of the clairs technically. However, it is and it isn't. When you're a clair, sometimes you're just hearing random chit-chat. When you're a clairaudience, sometimes I can just hear random stuff, but it doesn't make any sense, or it's just ringing in my ear, and it comes at, like, times where I need to chill, or someone or something is trying to say, hey, you need to calm down. And then I'm like, ding! But in this case, as an oracle sense, paying it to identify that is when you hear maybe a few different words that gives a meaning or an actual sentence, or you feel it so deep down into your freaking soul that you're like, something's about to happen to Kathy. And you have to call. You just feel it. Like the energy around you isn't your energy. You can feel that something else is around you. It's so annoying. Why? Because your energy is depleted after that. It's not an energy vampire type of thing, but it literally depletes you in some weird, stupid form. It's not yours. And no one's there that you can see. That's the tricky part, and that's the fun part if you have that oracle sense, okay? And then one that is very, very similar to the Oracle Delphi is the one where you lose track of time. So you go into a trance or you black out for a short amount of time, but you don't just black out and have nothing to say afterwards. You black out and then you're either saying something while you're blacked out. I don't know, my phone keeps fading in and out. You're either saying something when you black out, or you have a message after you black out or go into a trance. I know a lot of people do a lot of meditation forms like that. They get messages from the other side after doing meditation forms. Hey, that can fall into the category of being an oracle as well, okay? Those are the more scary ones, because if you don't know what the message or who's speaking through you, how do you know the message is real? Okay? Do you take it as a grain of salt, or don't you at all? Why is this acting all weird? Huh. Okay, fine, be that way. All right, so the next thing we're gonna look into real quick is what a seer is. So like I said, a seer is someone who has what they call like special wisdom, special powers. They don't just get messages in a trance state, or they don't just feel the messages deep down inside, or they don't just know the right things to say. They have to use something to get the information, okay? So they're known to receive special messages, warnings too, because I love having a slight form of seer in me, because I love to give warnings, and I've always given warnings. I stopped giving warnings after my little incident with my ex-friend who was a witch, because she always called me strange. Because any information I ever got when we did this, we went to a mediumship class, and it was that, like, hone in our gifts. Well, every time we did any type of mediumship, none of my messages were, like, nice. All of my messages that I picked up on had a warning, or, be careful, or, I wouldn't walk down that path because it's only going to end in, like, heartbreak, or whatever the hell it was about. She hated it. She's like, you're always so depressing. Why are you so depressing every time we go to class? I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to say? This is how I'm feeling. And this is what I need to say. This is what I got when I closed my eyes, and this is what I visioned. I visioned a doorway being slammed shut in this chick's face. What do you want me to tell her? That doesn't slam on her face? It's things like that, okay? Seers see things like, the migration pattern of a bird's. I own strange too, obviously. So, like, patterns in birds, or, the way the trees, fall maybe, or, how they make them fall as far as, like, throwing, stuff down, or the stones lay. All those, like, bone reading, runes. It's a, type of seer form. Just seers. Oh, don't mind me. So the technical definition for seers is explains the significance of events through omens and messages. So, you know, reading of the bones, you know, hoodoo and voodoo, you know, it's I always thought it's very, you know, warning and omen based anytime I've seen it done. Runes, they're not always like, hey, love yourself, be happy. It's usually like, you got issues in your house. The rune flipped upside down while it's looking at you, and you're like, nope, shit. Like, there's the home rune, and there's the battle rune. Why is Odin's rune look right? Oh man, like, crap. Be like, I'm gonna do it again. I didn't throw it right. I know. Hold on, let me put it back in my bag. Yeah, let's do it. Throw them down. You're like, all three of you assholes are right there. What is this one? Oh no. Why is Freya's stone staring at me now? Get it. Go away. You know, it's just things like that. What is going on? My laptop. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So yeah, so it's things like that. You know, that's a form of being a seer. Is when you could read things like that. And a lot of people can be seers. But you already have the gift. Like, it's just one of those things. It's a gift. It's there already. It is said that seers are able to see things that others cannot. So that's just like us, that read cards, that read runes, that read bones, which I'm going to learn how to do. I'm telling you, it's my goal. It's to read bones. Slowly collecting my bones, my little bones. Just got a coyote's bone not too long ago, so I'm really excited about that. And like Robin bought me a bunch of bones too, which I was really, really excited about. But I'm going to learn, you know, how to do that. But it's a natural thing. It's not something that, you know, you shuffle your cards and you throw it down. And I'm saying this even as tarot too. Or you throw your rune stones down and you go pick up the little book that tells you, like, you know, what everything is like. Okay, it says this. But it's just it's such a natural thing to do. And yes, of course, we have to read the deck books, and, you know, sometimes you got to memorize like what the meanings are. But once you have your own interpretations down, it's a free-flowing thing. It's natural. It's like you're meant to say things. You're meant to pull those cards for people. You're meant to pull those runes. You're meant to watch the candle drip. You're meant to watch the smoke and read the smoke. You're meant to watch the water flow down the river. And you're meant to watch how it sways and how the ripples are, or how the waves crash against the rocks. And you can tell things. Or if you're just staring at the water and you can see things, see images. You look away, you look back. Think you lost your mind for a second. You look back down. And now you see another part of the story. Or you see a figure in the water. It's a type of seer. Seers also have the ability to see the future, but it's never set in stone. The futures are never meant to be spoken exactly, unless you can, you know, unless you're one of those that can predict it, but they're so very rare and so very few that actually are gifted that way. Most of us, me included, are just lucky to be able to help with current situations now that can help better for the future. All right, hope that makes sense. But there are seers and oracles and druids and all of them that can predict the future. Like I said earlier, they are known to travel a lot. Seers travel. They don't stay in temples and shrines like oracles. They travel anywhere and everywhere they can go. Or they stay in their own village and people come to them. But they're for the commoner. They're not for the wealthy. They're not for the rich. They're not for no magistrates, no religious anything. Look at you. I always knew you were a water person. That's why I always want to buy you water stuff every time I think about you. I'm like, I want to buy this for her. I'm going to send it to her. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get a box for you again. Watch. It's going to be you, me, or another random box. You're going to be like, really, Crystal? I'll be like, I don't know how it got to the post office with my name on the return part. I don't know how you got all those pretty everythings in there. Now I might just throw random shit in there like, hey, you got a fairy, or maybe I'll throw a dragon in there once in a while to really throw you off just for the fun of it. Because I like that stuff. All right. So the most famous seers in history. So I do have to look at my notes because I don't know how to pronounce half this stuff. Okay. So I'm going to give you from different cultures. So from Greek, okay? Mopsus. We're going to go with probably Mopsus. It's M-O-P-S-U-S. Mopsus. He played a part in the Golden Fleece. What are you doing? I'm sorry. He played a part in the Golden Fleece myth, right? He was also known as the son of Apollo, okay? Remember, they always said Apollo was all about the oracles. Well, Apollo is also about a seer, too. He was also Greek, so why couldn't he be an oracle? He wasn't a priest. He was just a common person. Nothing special about him. But people called him the son of Apollo. The next one, that is a Greek, that was very popular. His name was, oh, this is going to be a bad one. Ohan. I don't even know. I just made that sound totally Hawaiian right there. But we're not even going to try and pronounce that one because it doesn't make any sense, the name. But it's like Leokon, whatever. So he was a priest of Apollo as well. He was a priest. Until he broke his vow by fathering children. So that was another thing I actually forgot about. So if you are a priest or priestess, you are not allowed to father or mother children. You're not allowed to bear children. You're not allowed to father any children. So that is why he's under the seer category, because he still had his gift, but he couldn't be an oracle. He tried. So this is one of the big things, and I know a lot of you guys know about it. Oh, there's that ringing again. He tried to warn the Trojans about like accepting gifts. So if you all remember, the Trojan War was about that big wooden horse that was packed full of the opposite army, which I totally can't remember what freaking army it was. Holy crap. I used to love Troy and all that. So anyways, he warned them, like, don't accept gifts. Don't accept gifts. So when you hear that theory about, you know, someone told them don't accept that gift, it was him. And I wish I could pronounce this. I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce his name. Whatever. See, I'm using so many different cultures and stuff. Okay, so he was all about the Trojan War. Tiresias is the next one. Ooh, I could say that one. Tiresias is the next one. He was the blind prophet, okay? His story was he was blinded by Athena because he came upon her while she was bathing in a river. So she blinded him. But she felt bad about him afterwards and gave him the gift of understanding birds and a gift of prophecy. So his gift came from Athena, but he was blind. So how a lot of people sit there and say that, like, if you watch, like, Vikings, their eyes are blinded or scratched out, or they have, like, something covering their eyes, comes from this idea of how can you see the future with two eyes open? Because I always say the future is so, well, I'll say that afterwards because I don't want to give away my next part. So, Tiresias. So that's for the Greek seers, the most popular. So the next one are the Celtics. Now the Celtics call them seers and druids. Okay? All my UK people are probably going to be shaking their heads if I even try to pronounce this one. But, Kaaba. We'll go with that. Kaaba. Okay, so he advised a king in Ireland about a battle that was coming to him. But the prophet, the druid / the seer, seeing that there was nothing but destruction, was going to come bestow him on the kingdom. And the kingdom would crumble and fall beneath the king. The king, like so many others, once they hear about the destruction of their own kingdom, was like, no, I don't think so. Guess what? He lost his kingdom, he lost his castle, he lost his land. Okay? Side note. So, druids are known to be a type of seer that is very ceremonial with their divination. Their divination, they also, but not back then, included human and animal sacrifice. Okay? So they weren't all about giving like fruits and vegetables and gold and stuff. Their ceremonies, when they did any type of divination work, included blood. It included a life given to the gods to be able to receive information. So theirs was a little bit more dark and very, very scary, which is probably why a lot of people were worried about asking druids for information. So maybe they went to seers in the Celtic lands, and the Scots, the same thing. Okay, he was the only one that I can find for the Celts that was so well known. Now, I know the Celts had way more because there are so many druids out there. Now, granted, druids nowadays, they don't do the human and animal sacrifice like they did back then. Now, it's a little bit different. Then again, druidism nowadays is completely different than how it was back then. It was very scary and it was very death-related and hurtful back then. That's for another live. So Norse is another one. Mimir. Oh my gosh, Mimir, sorry. Was, I guess you will call him the seer of all seers. He was in charge of protecting a very specific spring. I guess you could say he was a guardian of it. Okay? It was located at what they believed to be one of the 3 roots of the world tree of Norse mythology. Okay? Odin. Here's what I like about Norse, is they're not all just born gods, but Odin gained his magical knowledge, okay, by drinking from this spring. But by drinking from this spring, he had to sacrifice one of his eyes to the guardian of the spring. So to be a seer, he had to sacrifice his one sight to another seer. Interesting, isn't it? So not all of the gods were born to have this magical knowledge and magical sight right away. Some, yes. Some were born with it, like Freya. She was definitely born with the sight. She was a seer at birth and by birth, okay? One of the few, as a god at least. she introduced her own form of divination, Seed. Okay? It involved going into a trance and answering questions about the future. Oh, I believe there's an oracle we know that did a trance to get information about the future. But in this case, the Norse gods, it was Freya that did this. But she had her own specific type of divination. It had a name. Seed. Okay? Othin had to lose an eye to gain his sight, which I find fascinating because they consider Odin the king of the gods in Norse mythology, right? So I thought those three were very interesting. Okay? So, Mimir, Othin, and Freya. Now, shamans. Shamans is another name for druid or seer or oracle, okay? Shamans. Now, I'm no expert on shamans, so all my information right now is basically, it's coming from books and the internet. So bear with me on this one a little bit. What are you doing, Lilith? What are you doing? Okay, so shamans believe to have power to communicate with or travel to the spirit world. I would love for someone to really detail this out a little bit more because I find it fascinating. Because every time I think of this, I think of Native Americans doing this. Then, when I think of shamans, I think of a very, very old... Actually, I've always thought of it as an old woman sitting on a mountain with smoke from a fire, with, you know, a form of sage being burnt around, maybe in a tent on the mountain. I always kind of, you know, hear drums in the background beating, and in like a hypnotic state, you know? And then I always see like a smoke version of a spirit animal come out from like behind him, or through the fire smoke, you know, come up. I always picture that when I think of shamans. I always think of spirit animals, you know, coming out of that damn fire. And it just blows my mind because I'm like, I need to understand it a little bit better. But that's how I envision it. Every time I think of it, that's how I see it. So when I see it a little bit differently in modern time, it kind of throws me off because my vision of it is so different in some forms. Maybe it's not. Maybe that, you know, maybe a lot of us think of it that way. I'm not really sure. One of the biggest things with shamans is they go into, you know, a type of trance to communicate to the spirit world, but they also do it to heal as a healing practice. It's not all about like, hey, I'm going to go tell you your future. It's going to be, hey, I'm going to go into the spirit world and find a way that I can heal you or help better heal you. You know, and that's what I always find fascinating too with the shamans is, you know, they were always about helping someone, no profit involved. It was very, you know, very elemental and very, you know, animal based. It's amazing. Sometimes animal spirits would speak through them, which would explain why a lot of them had, you know, nicknames, you know, which I would love to, you know, have a nickname like that, you know, be a shaman and have like a really cool nickname. Okay. Hindu, they also had a form of seers. Don't mind me, my back hurts really bad. They were called seers, but they also called sages, which is really cool. So I have a dude I work with called Sage, so I always mess with them. So Hindu, yes, they called them either seers or sages. They lived very pure and simple-based lives, okay? Which they believed by living very very simple and very pure, that they got like great power from it. I think my whole computer stopped working. Yep. They believed it gave them really great spiritual power. A few of those seers in the Hindu world and in culture believed that some of them were actually demigods, so half human, half god. They also believed that those demigods were born from what they thought was the god, see if I say this, Brahma? Hope I'm saying that right. Brahma. So, to be a demigod, you only had to be born through this one type of god. So yes, it's a Hindu. Very simple, very basic. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the fine clothing. It wasn't about the fame, the fortune. They probably lived in these beautiful temples. Yeah. Meditated a lot. That's how I see them too. Very meditative. One of the biggest myths about oracles and seers mostly is, you ever heard the myth that they always had to be blind or deformed in some form? That's not the case. But they do like to depict it in the movies a lot, where they, put a mask on, they can't see anything, or, like definitely in the movie The Vikings, the seer there is straight blinded and very deformed looking, and some are crippled and old. It's like, really? But in some cases in history, we did have blind prophets and we did have blind seers. So, I mean, it's not that it's completely out. It's just not all of them and all of us out there in the world are like that. Pretty sure, sometimes you have to see things. And some people's vision is, it might be a trance to some people, but nothing really changed. You're staring at something and then it changes right in front of you. But to everyone else, you're in a weird trance. You're staring off in the middle of nowhere. Just stop moving, stop breathing, stop whatever. But it's a trance to them. One of the modern day seers, okay, and I'm not even going to get even into this, but I'm just going to give you his name, is Nostradamus. How many of his prophecies and, words, visions have come to be? So they're still out there. Some of them are more known than others, right? I think I did good time this time. I didn't go on a crazy rant. That was my biggest thing. I was trying not to go on a crazy rant, guys. That's all of the notes that I have, okay? And I hope some of it made sense and some of it, stuck. But my biggest thing is I wanted everyone to realize the history of it, because the history is so important. Because I just feel that oracles nowadays are just so... they're just so modernized to a deck of cards. Okay? Who's to say? Okay? I'm telling you, if you have a connection to something and it's a gift, and you're able to help people through this gift by giving them information, whether you hear it, you see it, you have to use something to get the answer. Hello, my loves out there. You're either an oracle, a druid, a shaman, a seer. I don't care what you call yourself, because it's just like being a witch. No one can tell you who you are and what you are. Now, some people don't know the gifts they have yet because they haven't developed enough, because they're slowly opening. Your channels are slowly opening, right? But don't cut yourself short based on, a couple internet sites or what a book will say. You have to meet these requirements to be this. It's like my mediumship class that I went to, okay? I was so nervous going to that because I'm like, I'm not a medium in any form. I just feel things sometimes. Sometimes I'll get images, but most of my stuff comes from hearing things or loud noises that aren't there in my, in my one side or the other side. I'm very connected to the cards. I can read cards like crazy. I can read runes, but they're mostly for myself. Sometimes I know when to call someone and when not to call someone. Sometimes I just say random stuff to random people, and to them it makes sense. To me, I have no idea why I said it. Who would have thought even to say something like that? But for some reason, when I talked to the person, I had a reason to say it. And to that person, it made sense. It's things like that. I have little bits of myself that I consider a little bit of an oracleist, a little bit of a seer, a little bit of a druid, a little bit, well, not so much of a shaman. I don't pull so much to the shaman. I just find them very fascinating. But, just the little bits here and there, But who's to sit there and tell me that I'm not? Because if you know me and you've seen me before and you've heard me speak from, hearing other people, it's not just, hey, wow, she's really good at reading cards, but it's, how did you know to get a hold of me? I don't know. Or how did you know that something was going on and you just randomly messaged me? It was a feeling. Felt something was wrong. And something was wrong. Prove that I'm not. And I'll prove that I am. Okay? Let me read these messages. So, were oracles virgins, seers were not, or do I have that backwards? No, you're right. Oracles were virgins in so many cultures' way. When they weren't virgins, they became seers if they still held their gift. I have never read anything that says that they had a gift taken away because they fathered children or that they buried children. I know that there's a movie I actually watched not too long ago, The Scorpion King. Okay? The priestess was a seer, yet she was depicted as an oracle at first. The oracle, which was, Egyptian, guys, the oracle was a virgin until she slept with the Scorpion King. Okay? Which The Rock is so hot. Once she slept with him, she lost her sight completely. I, aside from movies, have never read anything in the mythology form that says that you lose your sight as an oracle, okay? So that's why I think, as a state of title, yes, you're a virgin, you're an oracle. At least back in ancient Dark Age time. Most people were seers because, they fathered children, or, they had children, and they were great-grandmothers. They were crones in their, village and stuff like that. Of course, maybe the whole village was theirs, right? Maybe she raised the whole village. I think it's just the title part. So, you're right. You're definitely right. Yeah, she had her own form of source. Yep, from the movie. Yep. So that's how I see it. Like, if someone can find something that says, oh, my hair's all over the place, says that, they lost their power, but I don't think that's true because, I know druids weren't pure at all. And I know seers are not pure in that sense. So definitely. So, like I said, just if you feel connected, okay, and I'm being 100, well, I'm serious every time I do my lives. I'm being 100% serious. If things just happen randomly, or you say things that don't make sense to you but make sense to someone else at the right time, anything like that, anything of the things I said, even if it's just because you could read cards really good, and they pull so well to whoever you're pulling them for, and you're just a natural at it. Don't be afraid to say, I'm a seer. Or if you follow the Celtic culture and you feel comfortable saying, I'm a druid, So do it. If you want to call yourself an oracle, who cares if you're not a virgin? That was the old days. This is the new days. We make our own rules. Look at all the witches. Okay? We don't ever follow a rule system. If we wanted rules, we would go to church and follow their rules. But we don't want to. Make sense? So call yourself whatever you want. That's the best part about having any type of gift. Call it what you want. Am I clairaudient? Yes. Is it very, very strong? When it wants. Does it scare the crap out of me? All the time. Am I an empath? Unfortunately. Is my empath ability completely different than everyone else? Yes. I make my own rules. I call myself what I want to call. Do I consider myself an oracle? Not so much an oracle, but I do consider myself a seer. I can read things, tell things. My stories are another thing. Do I write stories that somehow is someone else's life? Yes. Does it get graphic in my stories? 100%. Can it scare some people? Yup. So yeah. Be you. Be free to say and do whatever you want. Okay? If you just want to read the cards, read the cards. But please, I want to hear about it, guys. Okay? Send me a private message if you don't want to like say anything. If you have any questions, I'm serious. I believe we're still out there. I believe a lot of people don't realize what they are because they're afraid to call themselves what they are. I also believe people are naive enough to believe that an oracle is just a deck of cards. I'm so glad that I was able to at least get, let's see how many, I got 3 of you on tonight right now. I know I had a little bit more earlier, but that's okay. So I have 3 of you right now. If I can get 3 of you to believe that oracles are still out there and seers are real and druids are forms of seers and that, you know, the Hindu religion has sages, then I did what I was meant to set out to do, guys. And I hope that if you're connected to that, I hope you dig deeper and you harness your gifts and you share your gifts. And I want to hear all about your gifts. All about them. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Because I love to hear the different gifts everyone else has. And I do think that might be alive because we're all different and we all have our own style and our own unique gifts. And it doesn't mean just being an oracle or a seer or a fortune teller or a psychic or a medium, anything like that, or an empath or an energy empath or energy sensitive or anything like that. I just want to know what we have in our community. I'm very curious. Or maybe you don't have any of those type of gifts and you're just you. And I'm just a witch that likes to make jar spells and call it a night. Or I'm just a witch that I, you know, set my intentions for the night and I call it a night. That's fine. I love it, regardless. All right. So, my loves, I love you all. Good night, Mom. I see you on there. I love you guys. Blessed be. I hope you guys had fun tonight, and I hope it wasn't too history related, and I hope it kind of really brought some stuff out there. Let me know if I didn't or I need to specify something, because you know I will. And stay tuned because is it not maybe next week? Whatever the 17th is, I think it's next week, is my live on the 3 Greek god brothers. Okay, so I hope you guys are ready because I'm so excited for this live. I actually had all of my bullet points already done. I got bored one day at work. Shh, don't tell my bosses. I just started writing. I had nothing better to do. Like, I wasn't doing literally anything. I was an extra that day. So yeah, so I'm already ready to go for that live. All right, I love you guys. Blessed be. From this seer to you, my other seers, my other oracles, my other druids, my other everything. I love you all. Good night.